Well, I'm at NASCAR. So welcome to another episode of Junkyards and Barn Finds with Sean, and I'm Sean. Hey, good morning, guys. This is in response to, if anybody's a NASCAR fan, if you don't know anything about NASCAR, you're probably not going to know much about this. But if you watch NASCAR, even if you're somebody who watches F1 or any auto racing, and you watch my channel, this is basically about how NASCAR is pretty much going downhill. And yesterday, the reason I'm putting this up is I was watching a couple channels yesterday, including the NASCAR channel, and everybody keeps saying that the reason that the number 3 car and the Dylan in the race last week where he took out Joey Logano and then Hamilton, the 11 car, and he shouldn't be allowed to race and they should take all this stuff away. And it's even funny because the number 3 car, when Earnhardt was driving it, actually took out the 11 car almost identically at the end of a race, and back then everybody applaud. So what's going on is a lot of these YouTubers, and a lot of you guys are, hey, you're young. You weren't even alive 24 years ago when we were still watching racing. And they're like, oh, racing like this is the death of NASCAR. And I got to say, no. The death of NASCAR has been coming at its own doing, because racing like this is what made NASCAR. So just kind of want to talk about a little bit of this. All right. So one of the fines, let's start with Joey Logano's fine. So Joey Logano gets fined. And by the way, I'm a Chastain fan now. I was an Earnhardt fan, Earnhardt Jr. fan, Tony Stewart fan, AJ Foyt fan. That's how long I've been watching this. I'm 57. I've been watching this stuff since the 70s. So, but Joey Logano, I don't have anything good or bad for Joey. He's a race driver. I think he's a good race driver. I'm not like a super fan, but it's a fine if he wins. And he drives Fords. So he gets wrecked. He's coming down pit row, and if you watch the video, he's coming down pit row to the left of a lot of the cars that aren't damaged because they're going past him. And all these people, including RCR, and I've been to RCR's, I have nothing against RCR. I mean, I'm not a big number 3 fan now, but I mean, I've been to RCR. I featured them on my channel. I've been to the RCR headquarters. I've been to the museum, everything else. So I don't have an issue with RCR. But what I do have an issue is that Logano's coming down the pit road, and as he comes down pit road, and you could see people walking out on the pit road. It's kind of like at the end of a football game when people start coming out onto the field, but before the whistle ends, so somebody kicks a game-winning field goal and people come out on the field and there's still 20 seconds left, and some of the officials start clearing the field and some of the other officials don't. Well, in this case, if you look, there's a lot of officials that aren't even trying to keep people off of pit road. They're not even trying to stop people from walking out there. And some of them are walking. There's one guy that you could see walking. He's not even looking where he's walking. He's walking almost out into the middle of pit road on the outside of all the pit boxes with his back to the oncoming cars. There are no horns. I guess now we're going to have to put horns. I guess that's the new one of the new safety things from NASCAR is to put actual horns in NASCAR, because if you come down, since the officials aren't keeping anybody off of pit road when it's being used. I guess we're going to have horns, because they're fining $50,000 to Joey Logano for driving down and revving his engine. It is the only way to get people's attention in a race car. If they're not going to pay attention to a race car that is so loud coming down an active pit road, then you rev the engine. And because he revved the engine, and because even what's his face is Dylan's wife's out there with a baby and on the crew and all these other people, and nobody's paying attention to the cars coming down, he gets fined for that, which is kind of BS. It would be different if he like tried to hit them or tried anything, but he was revving the engine to say, get the hell off of pit road, it's still active. So I guess we'll be putting horns as standard equipment now. You know, if you're going to have officials on pit road, they got to be more than just, you know, Walmart greeters. They got to pay attention to what they're doing until the end of the race. So watching NASCAR and their movable, invisible line of things, and the old term rubbin's racing. Rubbin ain't racing anymore. They're getting to be F1. And there's a couple guys that have NASCAR YouTube. That's all they do is NASCAR. And all of them seem to be about 20 years old. No offense to 20-year-olds, but they're like, this is not how NASCAR is, with people bumping. And you know what? That's exactly what NASCAR was. When NASCAR was the top sport in this country, when you couldn't get a NASCAR ticket, it was because NASCAR had the Intimidator. It had everybody from, you know, AJ Foyt, Buddy Baker. It had Cale Yarborough. It had Tony Stewart. So, I mean, these are guys that would walk out in the middle of the track, throw their helmets at people. This is when the cars that people drove, they built. And maybe the difference now is that this sport is becoming F1. It's not even IndyCar, it's F1, where you can't touch anybody. The cars are all made like a model kit. You can't even build your own cars. I mean, if you go to any of these race teams now, their headquarters, they don't have people that are fabricating cars anymore. I mean, there was a day, and it wasn't that long ago, where there was 10 or 15 different manufacturers that you could use. You had to get a stock car, which is what NASCAR stands for, National Association of Stock Car. You know, but it's not stock car anymore. Now it's National Association of Politically Correct Auto Racing. Because that's all it is. It's politically correct. They said, oh, well, we're going to make it fair for teams that don't have millions of dollars. Well, if you want to make it fair, just have teams that only have one car. You want to make it even more fair, try being fair when Toyota gets the break of everything. If you're telling me Toyota cars are that much better, where they used to be, by the way, restrictor plate racing and other things, was if cars were so much better that they win every week and everything else, like Joe Gibbs kind of seems to do, and Joe Gibbs has been caught cheating a lot. You know, it just seems like it's become the Toyota racing of America. And when I was sitting there watching the NBC coverage, NBC, all they do is cover Toyota. They covered the Joe Gibbs team and the 23 team. And it was weird because when the 23 team was in the top 15, they would highlight the top 15 cars. As soon as they went to the top 10, they would highlight the top 10 cars. Bubba Wallace was like running 25th, and they never even mentioned Ross Chastain. They just mentioned Bubba Wallace. Oh, and they go on this whole thing of Bubba Wallace and show him. I'm really kind of tired of Bubba Wallace. And it's not a racial thing. It's kind of like a Danica Patrick thing. You've been racing a long time. The two wins that he has, one is a rain delay, which was the fastest rain delay win ever awarded by any racing, I think, ever. But if he wants to be on the track, fine. But why people make him out to be some superstar? He's not. There's a lot of people on that have more wins than him. There's a lot of people that have better runs than him. You know, whatever. If you want to make him you know, a token of what the future is going to look like, you know, that's on you guys. But, and I really don't care, because it's kind of like, I don't care whether you're black, white, green, girl, boy. It doesn't matter to me. And it probably doesn't matter to the owners. They want to win. It's kind of like anything else. They see green. And they haven't been seeing a lot of green from Bubba Wallace or any of these other rides. So he needs to be worried about it, because I don't know Michael Jordan, but I know Michael Jordan's a winner. And I know Michael Jordan wants to win. And so Michael Jordan might be shopping for a new driver. So anyway, when I started looking, I wrote a little bit of notes down, because all these people are saying how being aggressive and wrecking people and everything else is not a way to build the sport. It's making the sport fail. But here's the funny thing. When you had Dale Earnhardt Jr., when you had A.J. Foyt, when you had Tony Stewart, when you had people that were wrecking other people, and the only one that really never wrecked anybody that he wrecked somebody once was Bill Elliott, okay? Before that, people ran into each other all the time, and you could see the damage on the cars. We have these plastic cars now where you buy the front end, the back end, or the middle, and that's the only thing you're allowed to replace, and NASCAR owns it. So this is almost becoming NASCAR slot car racing, where you don't have to have the money, because NASCAR is just selling a ton of overpriced parts, and they're the ones building the parts and making all the money on it. The other thing is, you don't see any of the fun stuff that made NASCAR what it was. You would see people putting ball bearings in frames. You would see people acid dipping the bodies and to lighten them. You would see you know, all kinds of different things. They would fill up exhaust. They would make the exhaust open more. They would put in a extra fuel lines that would hold an extra gallon of fuel. So you had all this fun stuff for the fans that it was never really called cheating. It was just called innovating back then. And now they call it cheating, and now you can't do it at all. I mean, God, look at the other, what was it, a couple, when they first introduced this new car, that somebody used like the wrong screw to put in the hood vent, and they got penalized for it. So it is really becoming politically correct. It's becoming very much how a lot of the world is, where everybody gets a trophy, and like F1 is, where every week you see the same 2 or 3 people up front and the same winners every time, and it's boring. It's boring as hell. But that's what they want to see now. They want cars that go around like a slot car. I mean, pretty soon you're going to get penalized for changing lanes without signaling, and it's really, really, really sad to me about that. Richmond is a short track, and short tracks are pretty much made to be ran dirty, and not dirty in the sense of cheating, although that's dirty. But you used to have the guys running the short tracks that grew up having real jobs, racing on the weekends, or even if they were full-timers, they weren't making a shitload of money. They weren't making a ton of money, and they were innovating. They had to build their own cars. They had to know how to fix a car. They had to know how to do all this. I mean, Dale Earnhardt owned his own shop, and he would be in there, and they would figure out how the seat would sit. And, you know, he put his seat lower than everybody else, so when he was going around the bank turns, he could actually see the people in front of him and not be blocked by the A-pillar. You know, there was a lot of innovation done by the drivers themselves. And now, I don't think there's a driver out there that could probably change their own tire on the freeway if they got a flat. The sport has really just become something sad. And the reason people aren't watching it, the reason they can't sell at a stadium, the reason that they have to go on 27 different apps and 14 different channels just to make the money back, is because it's not exciting anymore. Anybody Chastain does something exciting nobody understood, boom, next thing it's outlawed. Anything innovation, any way of driving spectacularly or really in a different way, anything that you can make yourself stand out, unless you're driving a Toyota, unless you're either Hendricks or Gibbs, you sit in the back and watch the race. That's what your job is. This is like, you know, they have 2 different Harlem Globetrotter teams. It's either Gibbs or Hendrick. And if you ain't the Globetrotters, well, then you're the other team, and you're just supposed to sit in the back, and maybe they'll throw you a bone once in a while. And it's really, really sad what's happening. You know, they'll sit there and they miss the point. They cry over whether a rope that was in a garage door that's been sitting there tied in a certain knot for 7 years, and suddenly it's now arbitrarily something evil. They don't like fans wearing a specific flag on a t-shirt, let alone flying one. And I could show you videos of all the different NASCAR events, especially Daytona, that I've been to since 1988. And you know what? I don't think a flag, I don't think any of that kind of crap has ever influenced winning or losing. But what has is the fact that they're basically, it's not even IROC, it's literally like you're driving on a driver's test. It's just so strange. And all the money, like right now with this new thing that they're going to do, where they're going to allow Hendricks, and they're going to allow the Joe Gibbs teams to have 4 cars, but nobody else is allowed to have more than 2. But we're going to be fair, you know. And imagine the NFL, if the NFL would not allow, like, the owners of the football teams to own the team anymore. All of a sudden they say, well, you have a charter, you have an NFL team, you have an NFL charter, put millions of dollars into it, but in a couple of years you're going to have to give it up or rebuy it again. Like, there is no business model anywhere that does that. That is just insane that they're like, yeah, we're not going to give them to you permanently. You're going to buy something now that's $2 million when they first, or $1 million when they first came out. Now it's worth $40 million, so you could sell it, but you can't keep it. You either sell it or it goes up for sale, and the France family, which is, I don't even know if it's a France family anymore. Since Bill France and Bill France Jr. died, I don't even get me started. It's terrible. I mean, you got a racing league that has rain tires that rarely uses them. You have rules that they rarely follow or enforce. I can tell you this much: if either the 22 or the 11 car wiped out Chastain's car, and Chastain was leading, oh wait, no, they've done that before, and they didn't get disqualified because they're Toyota or they're Hendricks. So I don't even, it's really getting old to the point of, like, watching it over and over. I literally am just getting tired. And in fact, honestly, at this point, when a Gibbs car or a Hendricks car is winning, which pretty much seems every week, because they suddenly have a accident or they'll have a yellow flag for somebody throwing a cup on the road. If it isn't a Hendricks, if the 11 car or a Gibbs car rather, or a 2311 car or the Hendricks cars aren't in the lead, you can guarantee yourself a green, white checker till they get in the lead. You guarantee yourself, if there's less than 10 laps, there'll be a yellow come out. It'll be a cup. It'll be some mysterious yellow, because that's what they want. They're basically putting 2 teams up there, and everybody else is just there for the entertainment value of being an extra in a movie. You know, you can't always just have the 2 stars. You have to have extras in the background, and that's pretty much how NASCAR has been treating every other team, and it's getting old. And they're seeing their revenues drop, or maybe they're not. Who knows? Maybe they get paid so much from all these apps and stuff for now. But you're putting it on 26 different channels. I'm not paying. Shoot, I'm an Eagles fan for the NFL. I ain't paying Disney to go watch an Eagles game on TV. Eagles don't want me to watch. That's up to them, man. And it's getting to the point with NASCAR. NASCAR don't want me to watch. Honestly, I wouldn't pay for Prime or anything, except for that I sell books and stuff off Prime, so I have to have it. But I'm not ever paying for a channel specifically to watch NASCAR. Those days in my life are over. And I know a lot of people are like, yeah, we just won't watch that one. So, yeah, this is a total rant on a Thursday. But it's just getting old and tired. And yes, I'm bitching about it. And if I don't like it, you're going to say, oh, go ahead and don't watch. But you know what? There's going to be a time when I'm going to be like, yeah, you know, you're right. I'll tell you what, I never watched an F1 race until recently. And that was more exciting than a NASCAR race. And I never thought I would say that in my life. Anyway, that's my rant for the week. And I don't know if you feel different, if you think I'm an idiot for saying this or a jerk, or that I shouldn't watch it anymore. If you agree, disagree, like, dislike, whatever, let me know. All right. I will talk to you later.